My name is Lena Moore, and for most of my life, I had believed love stories were fragile things, delicate threads woven only within the safe confines of novels or the flickering glow of movie screens. They were worlds I could visit with eager eyes but never enter, places where hearts raced and tears fell but only from a distance, untouched by the risks and rawness of real life. I thought my own story would be quieter, filled with ordinary days and soft moments, never swept up in the passionate storms I had read about so many times. But all of that changed on an October afternoon when the sky was a heavy, bruised gray, pressing low against the rooftops and streets, and the scent of damp leaves and rich earth filled the air like a whispered invitation. The rain had begun just after noon, a slow, steady drizzle that softened the edges of the world and washed the city in a gentle melancholy. I wrapped my coat tighter around me as I hurried toward the sanctuary of Brookfield University's ancient library, a place I loved for its warm, golden light, high-arched windows, and the comforting scent of old paper and dust that seemed to carry the whispers of countless stories. Inside, the library felt like stepping into another realm, one suspended between time and memory, where the noise of the outside world faded into silence, replaced by the rustle of pages and the soft scratch of pens. I had just settled into my favorite nook when I saw him, Ethan Blake, sitting alone by the farthest window, his broad shoulders hunched slightly as dark strands of hair fell into his eyes. His hand moved quickly but deliberately across the pages of a worn leather notebook, the intensity of his focus making it seem as if the words he wrote held the very weight of his existence. For a long moment, I just watched, drawn by something I couldn't name, a feeling deeper than curiosity, a stirring inside my chest that whispered this was no ordinary encounter. The rain tapped softly against the glass beside him, a steady rhythm that matched the beat of my own heart as I took a hesitant step forward. When his gaze finally lifted and met mine, there was no surprise in his eyes, only a quiet recognition, as if he had been waiting for me to appear all along. "Hi," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, unsure whether I had broken a sacred silence or crossed an invisible boundary. He closed his notebook slowly, the faintest smile touching his lips as he gestured toward the empty chair across from him. "I'm Ethan," he said simply, and as I sat down, the room seemed to hold its breath around us, the start of a story unfolding in the soft glow of the library's fading afternoon light. The days that followed felt like stepping into a new world, one stitched together by quiet moments shared in the library's shadowed corners and under the watchful gaze of rain-speckled windows. Each meeting with Ethan was a thread weaving us closer, a slow unraveling of walls I didn't know I'd built around my heart. His presence became a constant pulse beneath the usual noise of university life, the way his eyes softened when he spoke of the stories he wrote, fragments of a past he guarded like a secret treasure. We talked about books and dreams, fears and hopes, each conversation a delicate dance of revelation and restraint. I found myself drawn to the curve of his smile, the way his brow furrowed when lost in thought, and the gentle strength in his quiet voice. Yet, beneath the warmth of our growing closeness, I sensed a shadow that lingered, hesitation in his glance, a distant look when certain memories surfaced, and a silence that spoke louder than words ever could. One rainy afternoon, as the world outside was softened by mist and the scent of wet earth, Ethan closed his notebook and stared out the window, his eyes distant and filled with unspoken pain. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and measured. "Do you ever feel like you're running out of time, even if you don't know why?" The question caught me off guard, its weight settling between us like a fragile glass waiting to shatter. I hesitated, my fingers trembling slightly as I replied, "Sometimes it feels like life is moving faster than I can hold on to." He nodded slowly, the faintest flicker of vulnerability crossing his face before the usual guarded expression returned. In that moment, I realized love was more than warmth and connection, it was the courage to face the shadows within ourselves and the risks of opening a heart long closed. The evening air was thick with the scent of rain-soaked earth and the fading glow of twilight as we stood beneath the ancient willow tree, its long branches swaying softly in the gentle breeze like whispered secrets. Ethan's eyes held a vulnerability I had never seen before, the protective walls he'd built around his heart crumbling slowly as he reached out, not just with words, but with the raw truth that had weighed on him for years. In that fragile moment, every fear and doubt between us melted away, replaced by a connection so profound it transcended the silence and pain of the past, turning our love story from a distant dream into a living, breathing reality. We spoke in hushed tones beneath the willow's sheltering branches, sharing lost time and forgotten dreams, the letters he never sent, and the words I never dared to say, each confession weaving us tighter into the fabric of a shared future. Around us, the world seemed to fade until only the warmth of his hand in mine remained, steady, reassuring, and full of promise. As the stars blinked awake one by one in the deepening sky, I knew I was no longer just a girl who read about love, but a woman who lived it fully, with all its beautiful uncertainty and endless possibility. That night, beneath the willow tree's watchful embrace, we began a new chapter, one not written in ink or whispered in pages, but lived in every heartbeat, every breath, and every unspoken vow to face the future together. Love, I learned, was never simple or easy, but it was the greatest story we could ever tell, one worth risking everything to live. And with Ethan by my side, I was ready to turn the page and step boldly into whatever came next.